Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place.
Okay, so do you have a God-given right to be miserable? Like sometimes we hear in Unity, well, that's the place where those happy people are, right? So do you have to be happy to come here? No. We got all kinds of room. If you want to be miserable, we get it, right? You absolutely have a God-given right to be as miserable as you want to be for as long as you want to be, because even God will not interfere in your misery. Is it true? Because you have free will. If you have free will, if you want to be miserable every day, God, I got time. Right? God will just wait for you and wait for you and wait for you until you get even tired of being yourself. Have you ever gotten to that place in your life where you were just tired of being yourself? I have, where you just get sick and tired of being your sick and tired self. Right? And at that moment, every possibility becomes available to you. Right? So what tends to happen for people is some of us tend to live in a level of misery for a while, right? If you look back at your life, can you see a time in your life where you just lived at a level of misery, right? Maybe it wasn't full-on misery, but it was almost semi-misery, right? And you just lived in this level of misery, and you did it for a while, and then something happened. You met somebody, or you changed your thinking, or something happened, and you got a little bit happier. Now, the problem is that one step up of happiness. Because when you take that one step up in happiness, you actually think that now you've arrived. Right? I'm not as miserable as I used to be. Look how happy I am now. I have like 3 out of 4 good days, things are good. And then you begin to think that that's what people do, right? And the problem is, and the reason that I wanted to do this series is because I think some of us have kind of lulled ourselves into a belief that the level of happiness that we're doing right now is the zenith, it is the apex, it is the highest level of happiness, and au contraire, right? Right? And so what I want to do is really for us to really play with, just because you're used to your level of happiness does not mean it's all that. Now, do you have a right to stay there as long as you want? Yes. God is infinite. God is all time. God will wait, right? But can you imagine that maybe you're missing moments not being as happy as you could be because you're just used to being fine? Anybody ever just been fine? I'm fine, right? And there's nothing wrong with being fine, right? But it's just not fun. Like there's fine and then there's fun, right? So you can be fine, but you could be, and fun's better. And then when you get to fun, then you get to go to the ecstasy of God. And that's even better, right? So what I want to do over and over again is kind of, point to a higher level of being, and you get to decide if you want to live there. Oh, Richard, fine is just about all I can handle. In fact, I can only handle fine 3 days a week, really. I have to kind of take a deep breath on my off days, so I can kind of ramp it up on my good days, right? And you get to do that. Can your nervous system handle a higher level of joy? Right. Was your nervous system designed by God? Right? So do you know how I wasn't even going to go there. Okay. Do you know how most people use their nervous system in our culture? Most people use their nervous system in our culture to see how much pain they can tolerate and keep moving. Right? That's it. How many of you got an award for being sick all year but went to school anyway? right? Because we pride ourselves in how much pain we can take and keep going. So we're actually using our nervous system backwards to see how much pain we can tolerate and keep moving when it was actually designed for the ecstasy of God. Your nervous system was actually designed so that you could actually look at the face of God and survive. It was designed for ecstasy. But when we dial it down, when we abuse it, when we tolerate years and years and years of pain without ever letting it go, then we're kind of misusing our nervous system so that when we actually do tap into the ecstasy of God, our head explodes. Not literally, but figuratively, right? I am happy. Will you say that with me? I am happy. I'm happy. One more time. I'm happy. I'm happy. Right? Feel your resistance to that. Like in the room, like you're like, I'm not even going a half an inch past my happiness level. I got to my happiness level and it's right about here. It's not too big, not too small. It's just right. I got the little kid bed, you know? Remember the three little, not the three little pigs, the bears. What were the bears? Goldilocks. Goldilocks. Thank you. All right, back to my talk. So last week we focused on 3 ideas, and I want to kind of go back to them because they are the basis of what we're going to do through this 7-week series. And the first one was, what would I have to let go of to be happy? And over again that we've been taught that happiness is an addition problem. If I get the right house, the right spouse, the right car, the right job, then I'm finally going to be happy, right? And how many of you have ever got all the right stuff and there was this radically scary moment when you had all the right stuff and it didn't make you happy? Like the promise was that if I played the game and I won, of course I'm going to be happy. And you play the game, you get all the right stuff, and it all looks just right, and that's a rude awakening when it doesn't make you happy. So happiness is not about addition, it's about subtraction. So the subtraction is what thought, what belief, what fear would I have to let go of to be profoundly happy? What would I have to let go of, not what I have to add? Because the idea of adding kind of implies that your soul's not enough just the way it is. That you're not really complete. You know, was it McGuire? What was that movie? Jerry Maguire, where he says, you complete me, right? With this idea that we all have a hole, and we're just looking for the piece that kind of fills us up. So if I do get the Ferrari, then I'm going to be whole, then I'm going to be happy, right? Or if I do get the job or the house or whatever it is, then I'm going to kind of be complete. But over and over again, the model that I'm playing with that I want you to see is that you're already whole and complete, lacking in nothing. And that happiness is about subtraction. So like it's throwing out all the craziness. And then your soul, when all the craziness gets out, like it's realizing that your soul is really profoundly happy. Like God is amazing. The life is fabulous. And that your soul can absolutely be happy whatever's going on in your life. So the first one was, the question was, what do I need to let go of to be profoundly happy? And this is a moment to moment, day by day question that we have to ask ourselves over and over again every day. What thought, what belief, what judgment would I have to let go of? Did everybody come up at least one judgment that you hold that keeps you from your happiness? Did everybody come up with at least one belief this week that really keeps you from your happiness? That when you believe that, a belief about yourself, about the president, or about whatever, that keeps you from your happiness? Right? Did everybody have that experience at least once? Right? That over and over again, it's about letting go so that we can be happy. So that was the first one. The second one was, every day I wanted you to give yourself a number from 1 to 10 on how happy you are. Because those things that we're unconscious to rarely get better. But those things that we actually do become conscious to, there's actually room for expansion and growth and improvement. So I wanted you to give yourself a number every day at the end of the day. How happy was I today? Was I a 3 or was I an 8? Was I a 10 or was I a 2? And to really ask yourself the question, and to be respectful, to be mindful, to really ask yourself, how am I doing with happiness? Am I hitting it out of the park every day with every day I'm just expanding into higher and higher levels of happiness? Or am I just barely getting in my shoes every day because I'm dragging so deep? Right? And then the third question, which really for me predicates everything else, is what's my commitment to happiness? Right? Until I'm fully committed to being happy, I'm not really going to get happier. Because sometimes you have to dig deep to be happy. Have you ever had a situation in your life where it was really hard for you to be happy right there? Right? Everybody's been there, right? If you haven't, then come talk to me, right? I'll give you something in my life. You can, right? But sometimes it's hard to be happy. And so we have to be highly committed to be happy, because over and over again, we're going to have to make new choices that our brain's not used to making. We actually have a joy set point. We have a joy thermometer in us. And when we go beyond that joy thermometer, things get a little wobbly. And we have to really be clear, do I want to be happy? Am I committed to being happier than I've ever been before? Because that commitment is the thing that takes us from where we are now to really where we want to be. Do you have all these three? Does that make sense? I know I said four. Do you have all three of these? Do these make sense to everybody? And this over and over again is what I want you to be practicing every day. Because it's these things that allow us to really begin to take emotional dominion over our lives so that we can actually be the man or woman we want to be. And one of the things, and now the book that I'm using, and how many of you have bought the book? How many of you are reading the book? The book is fabulous. If you haven't, go get it at the library, go get it from Julia, or go steal a copy from Barnes & Noble. I don't know, no, don't do that. It's the karma thing. Don't do that. But it's a fabulous book. So we're on the principle number 2. One of the things he talks about, that research shows that there are 7 things that tend to impact your happiness level. And that if we're doing any one of these 7 things, we tend to be getting happier and happier. And I want to share those with you. The first one, the research shows that if you're a meditator, if you meditate regularly, day in and day out, you tend to be happier than most people. Now, why is that? Why would that be? That if you meditate, you're actually getting happier. And one of the things they found is that as you practice meditation, you learn to let go. That people that meditate on a daily or regular basis tend to have an easier time of letting go than people that don't meditate. That if you meditate on a regular basis, when stuff happens, because stuff is going to happen. Jesus said, in the world there's tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world. So if you're a regular meditator, your ability to unhook from the drama of your life is actually easier than if you don't meditate, because you're used to being still. If you're always used to being in the drama, if you're always used to being mentally and emotionally busy, it's harder for you to get happy because you get sucked into the drama. But if you meditate, you actually learn how to take a step back emotionally, and actually you don't have to engage. Does everybody have at least one person that their drama is so attractive to you? Right? That all they have to do is walk by and you get pulled into their drama. Does everybody have at least one person like that? Their drama is like it's your kryptonite, right? And it just kind of sucks you in. So the number one thing they said was meditate. 2, was having things that you're looking forward to. Right? Having things that you're looking forward to actually increases people's levels of happiness. Like if you have a life where you look forward to things on a regular basis, where there's things going on a regular basis, that you actually get happier. 3, commit conscious acts of kindness. Kindness that you do to others, consciously deciding to do kindness, actually makes you happier. When you observe yourself doing good, when you actually can see with your own eyes, you yourself doing good for another, the impact is that you get happier. And the research is really interesting. Watching somebody else actually does make you happier, but not as much as if you observe yourself doing good to another, being kind, actually makes you feel happier. It actually makes you feel happier. 4, infusing positivity into your surroundings. That means if you watch a funny movie, if you go out in nature, if you listen to beautiful music, if you infuse yourself with positivity, it actually adds to your sense of happiness. Now, watching cable news. How many of you want to think that that's infusing your life with positivity? No, that's the opposite direction. Right? That is infusing your life with negativity. And you can do it, but for every minute you watch cable news, you got to do, the rule is you got to do 3 minutes of positivity to offset it. So every 1 minute of drama takes 3 minutes of positivity to compensate for it. 3 minutes. So if you watch a half an hour of your favorite show, that's an hour and a half of classical music. Just saying, right? 5 is exercise. 6 is spending money but not on stuff. Like shopping for stuff doesn't make us happier long term. We get an initial bump with stuff, but the thing that long term makes us happier is spending money on experiences. So going out to lunch or dinner or traveling with friends and family, things that you do for experiences actually increases your level of joy. And the 7th one is exercising your signature strength. Do you know what I mean by that? It's you doing the thing that you're the best at. If you're a cook or a baker or you have a talent or something you do at work, when you're doing what you're best at, that tends to have a huge jump in your happiness. That when you're doing whatever it is, your signature strength, the thing that you're the best at, or even the top 2 things that you're the best at, it tends to have the biggest impact on your happiness. Now, let's talk about happiness and mindset. Okay? So how many of you, I'm going to give you a multiple choice question here. How many of you believe that happiness is 50% external and 50% internal? How many of you want to believe that it's 75% internal and 25% external? How many of you want to believe it's 100% internal and 0% external? This is called the Disneyland effect. Have you ever been to Disneyland and been miserable? Yes. Right? I will go with you to Disneyland any day, and we will find miserable people. We will find kids crying, dads upset, moms wanting to run but too polite to say so. You can go to Disneyland at any day and find people not having a good time. Why? Because it's never about Disneyland. It's all about what's going on in my own noggin. True? So what I want you to see and what we're going to focus on tonight is the mindset of happiness. That for every one of us, our mind is either our healer or our slayer. I'm going to read from page 69 in the book, The Happiness Advantage. Then there's what you might thought of as the reverse placebo effect, which is the way many of us it's even more fascinating. In one of my favorite all-time experiments, Japanese researchers blindfolded a group of students and told them that their right arm was being rubbed with poison ivy. Right? Now, I don't know if you're signing up for a research project, if that's the research project that any one of us would sign up for. But that's the deal. The poison ivy. Afterwards, all 13 students' arms reacted with classic symptoms of poison ivy: itching, boils, redness. Not surprising until you find out the plant used was not poison ivy. It was a harmless shrub. Okay? Rubbed, just a regular plant, just a regular leaf, rubbed it on their arm, told them it was poison ivy, their arm breaks out. Redness, boils, the whole thing. Because why? Where was the problem? Was the problem in their arm, or was the problem up here? The problem was here, right? Because as we believe, it is done unto us, right? So what happened was, so then they reversed the study, and I love this part. Then what they did, I have such a weird streak. Then they took, the researchers rubbed, I can't even believe they did this. Then they actually rubbed poison ivy and told people it was a harmless plant. And all 13 students were highly allergic to poison ivy. So they took 13 out of the test group of people that were highly They would never let this happen in this country. They would just, this would have to be done in Japan. They would never let it happen. So they took 13 highly allergic people, they rubbed poison ivy, told them that it was a non-poisonous plant, and only 2 of them had any reaction at all. They only had 2 of them that had any reaction at all, right? So what I want you to see is how important is your happiness to the mindset that you have about everything in your life. That everything in your life has a mindset that you've already created. And that mindset is either helping you be happier, or it's helping you have boils and redness and, all the stuff. And I know that we want to blame the world. We want to say, well, Richard, this isn't right. I get it. Right, Richard? Well, I can't be happy with this going on. I lost my job, or this happened, or my relationship just ended. I can't be happy with that. And I got it. Stuff happens. But the power of God in you is actually greater. Well, Richard, this is sad. I get it. It is sad. So how long do you want to be sad? You want to be sad an hour? Do you want to be sad a week? Do you want to be sad a year? Do you want to just be sad the rest of your life? How long is it appropriate for you to be sad? And if you really believe that God is in charge, if you really believe that God in you is greater than anything in the world, you have a God-given right to be sad. But when are you going to be willing to take dominion over your emotions? When is it enough? And when are you willing to really touch higher and higher and higher levels of happiness? Let me give you one more. Then they talk about the workplace. The beliefs can actually change concrete results in our efforts and our work. This isn't just a theory. It's been proven by a number of serious scientific studies. One conducted a few years ago by Ali Krumman, and a former student of his, and the research at Yale University with Ellen Langer, and they've talked about a couple other research. That they performed an experiment with the cleaning staff of 7 different hotels. They told half of the employees at each hotel that the exercise that they were doing every day while cleaning the rooms should be enough, that there was enough calories burned, that it should be enough to actually cause them to lose weight. That the vacuuming was a cardiovascular workout. And the other half of the housekeeping staff, they didn't say anything to, no changes, right? So they actually told half the housekeeping staff that the amount of work they're doing was an 8-hour cardiovascular workout. So at the end of the experiment, several weeks later, they found that those who had been primed to think that their workout as exercise actually lost weight. But not only that, their cholesterol also dropped. Right? What I want you to see, their cholesterol also not done any more work. They hadn't exercised any more than the control group. The only difference is how their brains conceived of the work that they had done. At this point is so much that it bears repeating, that the mental construct of our daily activity is more important than the activity itself. So it's not what you're doing that's either making you happy or sad. But your mind makes it so. And we can't move to higher levels of happiness until we learn to master this. Because your happiness cannot happen until your mind is got somebody in charge. Let me give you one more. The most successful people adopt a mindset that not only makes their workday more bearable, but it also helps them work longer, harder, faster than negative mindset peers. In essence, these people use their positive mindset to gain control, relatively speaking, to time itself. For them, 24/7 is an objective clock calendar measurement. They take the same unit of time given to everyone and use their mindset to become more efficient and effective. Then they talk about this idea of accountants. In one study, 112 entry-level accountants found that those who believed that they could accomplish what they wanted to set out to do in their career, 10 months later scored higher in job performance than everyone else that was studied, right? That our beliefs make it so. And the last one I want to share with you is the final aspect of this mindset. Yale psychologists made a study of how the mental concept of our jobs and our work affect the performance. For many years, they interviewed hundreds of workers in every conceivable profession and found that employees saw their work in 3 different ways. They categorized it in 3 different ways. There were people that saw their work as a job, people that saw their work as a career, and people that saw their work as a calling. Guess which group thought their work was, guess which group had the highest level of joy and satisfaction in the work? People that thought it was a job or career or a calling. Calling, right? And what's interesting is they did a study on administrative assistants, 24 administrative assistants, and they studied them, and the results showed that out of those 24 administrative assistants, that it was pretty much an even breakdown of people that saw it as a job. Now, if you see it as a job, why do you go to work? For the money, right? If it's just a job to you, then you go to work just so you can get money, right? And it tends to be the least satisfied group. Now, the people that go to work and it's a career, guess what's driving them? If it's a career, guess what's driving you? No, it's not satisfaction. It actually tends to be success. That if you think of you're on a career, then for most people in a career, they want to advance, right? So the people that are doing a career, they want to get someplace. And it tends not to be where they are, right? Does that make sense? That they're in a career so they can get further up the ladder, the chain, the process until they can be the top dog. Now, the people that are in a calling, and again, it's pretty much evenly divided, but the people that are in a calling, whatever their job was, because there's enough studies that people, no matter what your job was, there were enough people, and the breakdown is usually a third, a third, a third. Every job can be a calling. And what defines if a job is a calling? What defines if you move to that higher level of a calling? What defines that? Is it the job title? Guess who defines if your job is a calling to you? You do. If it's a job or a career or a calling, you're the one that defines that. Okay? So the homework for this week. Do you still have to monitor and still look at what do I need to let go of to be happy. Is that still part of the homework? Yes. Do you still have to rate yourself 1 through 10 every day? How happy are you? Yes. Do you still have to monitor your own impersonal commitment to being happy? Yes. So those are the first 3, and they're not going away. Okay, is that fair? This week, number 4. Number 4 is your mindset about everything. Like, if it's your turn to empty the dishwasher, it's always my turn to empty the dishwasher, right? Do you have a mindset about that? Do you have a story about that? Right. Is it making you happy? If something is happening at work, do you have a story about that? I want you to slow it down so that you're looking at your mindset, and I want you to be willing to challenge your mindset about the things that you are doing anyway. Because you're going to do it anyway, right? I mean, I guess you could just buy new dishes every week, right, and just throw them away, or just buy paper plates or whatever and just throw them away. But the chances are, hopefully, that you're going to do your laundry on a regular basis. Right? Is that true? Right? So you get to decide the mindset, but the mindset matters. Because if you continue to support yourself as a victim, because the mindset is you're either a victim or you're a master. If you're a victim because you have to do laundry again, you're never going to get happier. If you do laundry as a calling, and I love doing laundry, man. I do. Laundry is my job at home, and I do it right, man. Whites, colors, I do it right because it's a calling, right? It is. It's a calling. Do I want more? I hire out. All right, but I'm not cheap, but I do hire out, right? Right? It's a calling, okay? So number 4 is, what's the mindset that I'm holding for my life? Do I want to continue to be a victim, or do I want to be a master? Because those are really the only 2 options. When it comes to your mindset, you're either a victim or you're a master. And you can't be both at the same moment. You ready? Let's pray. I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to a level of joy that seems absurd. To a level of joy that God is overflowing into your soul, and your soul is so happy. I want you to touch a level of joy that you actually believe that God is at work in your life, and that only good is coming to you now. Today, we take dominion over the mindset. We make a decision to be a master, not a victim. To be empowered, not disempowered. To be in charge and not weak or faint. I'm in charge of my thoughts. I'm in charge of the mindset that I use to deal with my life. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks, and so it is. Amen.